What has Jimin been hiding from the army all this time? Why did he choose to remain silent when Jungkook was close to completing his military service? And more surprisingly, Jimin's words hurt the army. Is it because Taehyung is too close to Jungkook? Has their friendship broken down behind the scenes? The truth that has been hidden has finally begun to come to light, and the army is not ready to face this reality. Army hit. This is the shocking truth that Jimin has been hiding all this time. What is Jungkook? Have you felt it? A strange aura emanated as Jungkook was nearing completion of his military service. The atmosphere that used to be warm now feels cold. But not because the spring began to subside, but because someone who had been a symbol of tenderness and sincerity, Jimin, actually showed an attitude that could not be understood by many soldiers. Why didn't Jimin say a single word to greet Jungkook? Why is there no warm message, no emotional support like he used to give to all BTS members? And the most surprising thing, why did he write a sentence that left the army speechless, heartbroken, and wondering what really happened? Not everyone who comes back should be welcomed with open arms. The sentence is only 10 words, but its impact hit millions of hearts. The sentence was written by Jimin, without tags, without context, without a smile. Just cold. Just ACUT. As army tries to figure out the meaning of those words, a question begins to reverberate throughout the fandom. What does Jimin mean by that? Is this just a personal expression, or a form of anger he's been holding back? Or maybe a deep disappointment in someone he once considered a brother? Has Jungkook done anything to make Jimin feel betrayed? Or is there a wound that the army cannot see, but has been keeping it tight? Army trying to dig up clues. They reopen all of Jimin and Jungkook's last interactions, from messages, videos, to old photos. And slowly, the pattern began to show. There is a distance. There are empty spaces that cannot be faked. Not only was there no interaction, but there was no gaze that used to be warm. And in the midst of that confusion, one name kept popping up in army discussions around the world. Taehyung. Do you realize how close Taehyung and Jungkook have become lately? As Jimin seems to disappear from social interactions, Taehyung instead appears by Jungkook's side, as if taking the place that Jimin used to always fill. Did I S it all because of Taehyung? Does the new closeness between V and Jungkook make Jimin feel left out? Or is there more than just casual closeness that makes the wound so deep? Question after question sprang up. But one thing is certain, the army is beginning to realize that this is not just a phase, not just tired, not just out of sync time, that it's about something much deeper. About hidden pain. About an emotional breakup that was never announced. It's about a friendship that's slowly cracking, and the army has no explanation. One of the biggest fan bases started writing a long thread about Jimin's behavior change. They compared his once bright smile, now gloomy looking. They pointed to how in one of the last live, Jimin simply said, "Sometimes, you feel most alone when you think you're surrounded by love." The sentence just sank in then. But now, after everything that had happened, the sentence felt like a silent scream that was not understood when it was first spoken, and one by one, the army began to connect the red thread. When Jimin was not present at the live broadcast, when Jungkook got an encouraging speech from RM and Jin, when Jimin chose to post a photo of the sunset, without a caption on the day Jungkook performed in front of the military camp for the last time. And even when the army made the "Welcome Back Jungkook" trend, Jimin didn't participate at all. Not a single emoji. Not a single retweet. Why? What made Jimin endure all that? Some speculated that Jungkook had said something in the past that made Jimin feel hurt. Some believe that since Taehyung became closer to Jungkook, Jimin felt replaced. But even more surprising, there were voices saying that Jimin knew something. Something the army didn't even know about. One night, behind a less crowded VLive session, an army man noticed something in Jimin's way about avoiding questions about Jungkook. "I want to talk to someone, but maybe I should wait," he said in a heavy voice. Sometimes honesty makes things worse. What does that mean? The truth about what? About feelings, about betrayal, about something that will destroy the perfect image that has been built. The army began to divide. Some were angry at Jimin for not supporting Jungkook. There are those who actually sympathize, convinced that Jimin is injured. And there are those who choose silence because they know when Jimin is silent, it is not without reason. Then came a new clue. In one of the photos from the backstage of a HYB private event, a staff member accidentally captured the moment Taehyung hugged Jungkook tightly, while Jimin stood far back, looking away. The picture spread like wildfire, and the question is screeching all over the virtual world. What really happened between the three of them? Shortly after, Jimin posted a short excerpt. I can't explain everything now, but one day, you will know that I never wanted to hurt you. Is it aimed at the army? To Jungkook? Or to himself? And now, as Jungkook is about to return, as the world prepares to welcome him with an embrace, only one thing feels missing: Jimin's presence. Not just physically, but emotionally as well. Jungkook himself has not yet given a statement. But in a recent training session, he was seen staring blankly into the camera. And when someone asked about Jimin, he simply replied, "We all have our own time and way to heal something that is broken." Is that a confession? Are they really not okay? Is this the end of a bond that was believed never to be broken? That was the only atmosphere that hung in the air when the name Park Jimin was mentioned in the series of events welcoming the end of Jungkook's military service. There was no voice recording, no video message, not a word from Jimin. Only his shadow is absent, and it hurts more than 1,000 caustic statements that this a silent protest. Is this Jimin's way of shouting in silence? Because words no longer adequately represent what he feels. An insider, who did not want to be named, said there was an unfinished emotional tension between the three: Jimin, Jungkook, and Taehyung. In fact, Jimin reportedly once made a request to temporarily not be combined in one project with them for reasons that are personal and mental. And more surprisingly, the same source mentioned that Jimin had begged management not to include him in one particular set of filming because I can't pretend that everything is fine in front of the camera when my heart is no longer whole. It sounds like an honest confession from a man who has been harboring too many wounds behind a smile. Meanwhile, Jungkook, who always looks tough, began to show his fragile side during a brief interview by the military media. When asked what he misses most from the past, his answer made many ARMY hold their breath. I miss the days when nothing changed. Is that code? Is it a form of nostalgia for a relationship that used to be so close, with someone who is now far away? Meanwhile, Taehyung is often seen with Jungkook on various occasions lately. In one photo spread across Korean online communities, Taehyung is seen clutching Jungkook's arm tightly while smiling. The photo looks warm, but for some ARMY, the smile harbors something that makes the chest feel tight. Comments from the ARMY began to heat up. Jimin has always been there for Jungkook. Why is he silent now? Did Taehyung take the position Jimin had? If their friendship is broken, why doesn't anyone dare to talk? Jungkook looks empty, Jimin disappears, and Taehyung is too calm. This is not the BTS we know. But is it too far if we deduce all this only from symbols, gestures, and ambiguous sentences? Maybe. But shouldn't silence also be the loudest form of communication? Jimin is known as a sensitive person, full of empathy and never reluctant to show his emotions in front of the ARMY. But this time, all he showed me was a wall. Cold, stiff, and painful. In a very short live broadcast a few days ago, Jimin just said, "Sometimes you're not angry. You're just disappointed because the person you were hoping to understand instead chooses silence." The sentence is piercing. And the ARMY knows it's not just words that it directed at Jungkook. Is he waiting for an apology? Or is it because of something more complicated? Maybe because how did Taehyung and Jungkook start forming their own world without Jimin in it? Some ARMY even found snippets of lyrics from Jimin's previous solo songs like Promise and Like Crazy that now feel like an emotional reflection of slowly eroding feelings. One of the lyric fragments from Alone reads, "Even if I hold out my hand, there's no one there anymore. Even if I reach out, there's no one there anymore." That's how the ARMY feels now. It's as if they're watching one part of BTS that was once tight, now begin to crack, not out of resentment, But because of the silence that's been left hanging for too long, AS Jungkook's official discharge from his military duties comes next week. Many are asking, will Jimin be there? Or, more than that, will he open his voice? If he comes without greeting, the army's wounds will deepen. If he is not present at all, then all signs will be the answer. And if he comes with a neutral speech, then it will leave more questions than certainties. Now, all eyes are on all three. Will they stand together again? Will they look at each other and erase tea? Behind the sparkling screens and smiles of celebrities, there is a darker world. A world not captured by cameras, never officially announced. A world that can only be guessed from silence, a changed expression of the eyes and ambiguous sentences that sound like poems of sadness. And in that world, now Park Jimin's name stands alone. Too many unanswered questions, too many emotions yet to be conveyed. The question now is, why did Jimin choose silence? What exactly is he hiding from everyone, especially from the army? A former HYB staff member, who is no longer under contract, reveals something unexpected. In the interview, which was not recorded visually for the security of his identity, he only said one short sentence that gave goosebumps. You don't know how hard Jimin held back for the past 2 years. What does restraint mean? Does that mean professional pressure, internal strife, or something much more emotional and personal? The source later added that before Jungkook's enlistment, Jimin had come to HYB's office alone and faced the executive team. Not to talk about schedules or projects, but to ask permission leave without notice to the public. The reason? Jimin called wanting to temporarily disappear from the narrative. A statement that sounds vague but full of emotional weight. When asked further by reporters, the source declined to elaborate on specifics. But he just added, sometimes people don't disappear because of hate, but because it is too dear and afraid to hurt. That sentence is haunting. Then came another no less astonishing clue on a Korean fanbase account that has been known to accurately observe the movements of BTS members. There was one upload that immediately went viral, a piece of a voicemail that Jimin allegedly sent to a close friend. Although it is of poor quality and full of distractions, the main sentences that sound clear are, I tried to talk, but they were busy laughing. I wanted to explain, but as if I was not needed. Maybe I'm just jealous. Or maybe I'm not included anymore. Is that a reference to Taehyung and Jungkook being so close? Does Jim feel left out? Or even more painful, feeling replaced? A short video re-uploaded by an army from the promotional period of the B era suddenly went viral after being associated with this incident. In the video, Jimin sits alone on the couch as Jungkook and Taehyung joke around with the staff. The camera had captured Jimin's blank stare for 4 seconds, before he finally smiled faintly and pretended to laugh. Now, the gaze is interpreted differently. IT used to be considered tired, now considered wounded. What exactly is going on behind the camera? And what hurts the most? Does their friendship last only when the camera is on? Army, which has been known to be full of love and support, is now at the point of cracking. They are divided. Some defended Jimin by calling him hurt by being emotionally betrayed, while others supported Jungkook and Taehyung, who were judged to just want to live a freer life without too much pressure on the group's image. But that's all speculation, and in the midst of that storm, one voice from Jimin himself finally appeared. Not from a live broadcast, not from the media, but from someone who once received a handwritten letter from him. The letter, which is said to be written around the end of 2024, contains previously unpublished content. The most electrifying part of the letter reads, I love them more than anything, but I'm not them. I'm not someone who can laugh at pain and think it's over. I need time. I wanted to remain apart, but didn't want to force it if they felt both were enough. There's no name in that letter, but all know who meant them. And all know who feels knocked out in silence. What makes this even more emotional is the fact that every time ARMY mentions 7 members forever, that feeling now begins to waver. Not because they do not believe, but because they begin to fear. What does forever mean if no one dares to speak the truth anymore? What is the meaning of friendship if all wounds are only saved and never healed? Some ARMY try to stay positive, stating that this is just a phase, and Jimin will definitely return to normal. But they forget that sometimes people change not because they want to change, but because they are forced